Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. It's your astro best friend here, Brandy, here to talk about the vibes of the week ahead. Giving you the lowdown on the vibes this week ahead. We have an intense full moon in Scorpio this Friday, y'all. It's packed with emotions. There's going to be some situations that probably come up that are building up to that, some triggers, lots of stuff to deal with, mental spirals that hopefully will be ironed out by the end of the week. And then we're going to have a change of mind by Saturday. So let's get into the astrological breakdown. So yesterday, Sunday, April 26th, we had Mercury in Aries square Jupiter in Cancer, and we also had Venus in Gemini sextile Neptune in Aries. And I feel like for most of us, there's a lot on our plates this week. There is a lot on our plates. There's a lot on our minds. We could find ourselves thinking about a lot of things, preparing for a lot of things. We got kids graduating. We got kids going to prom. Some of us are graduating. Some of us are in transition. There's changes happening, trips to be planned, things to really contend with. But when I see Mercury, which is the mind in Aries, that's fast thinking, that's want to get things done, want to take action, want to get something started, squaring Jupiter in Cancer, that is big emotions and a lot of things that we feel responsible for or that we assume we're responsible for when it comes to our homes, families, family members, just things we got to take care of. And then there seems to be this situation with emotional safety and feeling overwhelmed this week. Ever since Jupiter has been in Cancer, every time it squares Mercury or every time Mercury squares Jupiter, I feel like there's a situation happening with family, some type of overcommitment, over promising, overwhelmed, just there's a lot on our plates, but there's also assumptions with Cancer because Cancer is about how we tend to our own emotional wellness and how we prioritize our emotional safety. With Jupiter, there's we're supposed to be learning from past situations on how to prioritize ourselves and how to not make assumptions and to understand that we are a lot like our family and our behavioral patterns that were modeled to us, and we could be seeing how they are playing into certain relationship dynamics. So that could be going on, but we could just be feeling frustrated. There's a lot to do, there's a lot to think about, but also there's these undercurrents in relationships that could be coming up this week that may have us feeling weird. We could be assuming things, there could be just like these unspoken tensions that are coming up, definitely gonna culminate this Friday during the full moon for a lot of us. But there's also an inclination to do all the things and get all the things done. So we could have a lot of stuff to do, but Mercury in Aries wants to forge ahead. We want to get all these things done, and we want to kind of temper that and scale that back because when Mercury squares Jupiter, we tend to overlook a lot of details and things could be sloppy or missed. And so we want to scale back, but we also want to take some things off our plates because I just feel like a lot of us are overwhelmed this week. We have too many thoughts. Uranus just went into Gemini. There's a lot of mental energy. There's a lot of fire, want to take action energy. And when you mix those two together, we could spiral into anxiety, overwhelm, frustration. Then we got the emotional component, and that's where we start having assumptions and we start saying things that are not really based on facts, not really based on having all the information. So we just want to be careful about making assumptions when it comes to people we're in relationships with, people that we work with, family dynamics, mother, daughter, sisters, cousins, all the things. And we want to be aware of our own patterns and conditions. And Mercury's going to have a conjunction with Chiron this week, and that is us really looking at and thinking about our wounded sense of self, and to really just come to terms with like, hey, sometimes we're the drama, sometimes we feel and think things because of the wounds that we have never really tended to. And so we're putting an assumption on something, or perhaps we're discouraged. Now, with Venus yesterday making a sextile to Neptune, Neptune in Aries is here to show us a dream and to also dissolve our dissolve any illusions of who we actually are. Neptune's coming here on a double mission. So first it's to show us that there's a new path available to us and for us. But it's also showing us and pulling the veil back on you're not who you think you are, right? And you're also not who you think you are. So perhaps this week you could lighten up. What if we tried something else? What if we tried a different way? What if we tried to look at something a different way? Perhaps Venus in Gemini is a friend who's helping you look at something in a lighter way, to not take something so seriously. Perhaps this is a creative idea or just a thought to be more curious about something, do something a different way. It doesn't have to be the serious, tried and true way. This is your lane. You can't mess it up when it's your lane because it's, who you comparing it to. So, can you experiment with something? Can you allow yourself to be who you are right now, to be in process? I just really have been seeing a lot of body image coming up and a lot of just a lot of discouragement with our sense of self. And that makes sense with Mercury being conjunct Chiron because we're really in the energy where we're very focused on who we are, how we look, how we present ourselves, what we bring to the table, and is it good enough? So there's a wound about that this week. We want to avoid speaking on something too fast, speaking on something without all the details. And that's saying something too fast, launching something too fast, telling the wrong people who are infecting our blessings and our visions. Like there is no three-way call on our own visions and callings. And sometimes we'll tell people, and they don't mean to, but they might say something that further discourages us. We don't need nobody to sign off on our stuff. You might have one person who may give you some good feedback and they may not, and we can take what resonates and leave the rest. Definitely be open to feedback because there's a tendency to make mistakes and gloss over things this week. But also, maybe not take somebody else's opinion of what you're doing so close, so much to heart, because you are the one with the vision, okay? And with this growing emotional full moon, tone matters this week. Mercury square in Jupiter is big emotions, assumptions, but also how you say something. Mercury in Aries could be sharp. They can say things without thinking, and they can say something disrespectfully, but not meaning so. And sometimes they do mean so because they strike first and then think later. So we just want to be careful of our tone, saying things, but also be careful taking stuff the wrong way. Ask for clarity. When Mercury squares Jupiter, get clarification. Make sure all the pieces are coming together nicely, and really pay attention to your emotions that come up this week. Your emotions will be speaking, your body will be speaking with the sun in Taurus. So you want to pay attention to the signs of dis-ease and pain that your body may be saying, but also pay attention to what emotions are coming up, because the assumptions that you are making perhaps, or the ways that you're feeling, the saltiness that you could be feeling, anything like that, the fear, the resentment, is all leading us to a very core theme that will be coming to the surface this week, I believe. And definitely take what resonates and leave the rest. But yeah, clarify something this week. Stay open, stay curious, stay compassionate. Maybe we be kind this week. Maybe we just be kind to ourselves and take some things off our plates. Some of these things that we have on our plates is overwhelming us to the point where we can't really see the bright side of something because we're overloaded. Some of these things, these thoughts, these assumptions, this hastiness is not ours, and it's not meant for us to take action on right now. Remember, it's an ebb and flow life. It's not a forge ahead life. And you'll know that because you'll feel overwhelmed and like you want to tear everybody's head off. And we don't want to tear anybody's head off, okay? Tuesday, April 28th, we're going to have Venus in Gemini, trine Pluto in Aquarius. This is another very cerebral, mentally energetic type of energy. And so there could be just a lot of ideas. There could be a lot of thoughts. There could be a lot of information coming up. We could be spiraling and thinking and thinking and thinking about stuff. This is a really good day for some intense mindset transformation, some thought work, if you have a coach, if you have a therapist, if you have an astrologer, you want to really like, connect and get down into something. Also, if this is you studying, you could be studying for finals. It's a good time to study. You will be locked in. You just want to come up for air. Don't feel like you gotta read the whole encyclopedia and, biology book in one day, but I think you have the mental stamina to really lock into something and to really be focused on whatever you are trying to tackle this week for sure. Venus trine Pluto is intense emotional feelings as well. So I mean, if you are in a relationship or you meeting somebody, you could expect some very intense feelings, some very intense connections to happen, or even reconnecting with certain groups, with certain people, with certain friends, and just kind of be and just feeling like you just locked in. So, there could be some really nice, transformative, intense meetups with groups and friends and connections and people like that. We could also see some stuff happening with people who are in our local environments. And it could be good intensity, but it could also be some growing tensions between like maybe neighbors and coworkers and people who we kind of see or we are who's in our life peripherally, like not necessarily our housemates, but it could be, but like, sisters, cousins, siblings, friends, stuff like that. There could be some intensities happening this week, or we could just be experiencing some of those people in our lives going through very tense and intense situations. So we just want to be kind for people. I mean, be nice to somebody. You never know what they're going through. Somebody could be going through a very deep situation, and so we just want to make sure that we're not adding to things, but also we're not. We just want to do no harm, but also take no shit. Right? We're going through stuff too. This is a good time for you to be around people who support you and who make you feel like they don't play about you. We're also going to see this week that Venus is going to square the north and the south node of the moon. She's bending the nodes. There's a decision that we need to make, and we're trying to figure out which way to go. Do I take this new route, this new path? Do I do what I know I'm good at or what I know that works, but I could be feeling inspired to do something different? And this could be with our own aesthetic. Do I wear the black dress or do I step out and do something a little snazzy? It's spring. Maybe I do a pastel or whatever like that. Do I get the red hair? Do I do blonde? Whatever. It could be something that simple, but also it could be something about a business investment or handling a situation in relationships. I really feel like there are going to be relationship dynamics, family dynamics that are coming up a lot this week. And it could be like, do I handle it this certain way or do I take it back to the old school way? It could just be something like, how do I need to feel about this? And this is where you are doing your thought work, you're doing your journaling, you're going back to the breath and to ground and to pause and also to really just take accountability for the way you see things, your side of the street, because it's easy to think that, oh, this person is trying to do this and say this, but really what is your mindset contributing to that? And if you don't know, this is a very good week to tap into your own emotional landscape, because that's what a Scorpio full moon is about. It's about what needs to be purged. This could also have something to do with us purging our own values and our possessions. What do we no longer need anymore? Is it time to throw that shit away? Isn't it spring? It's spring, right? Perhaps this is spring cleaning. I need to throw some stuff out. And this is also spiritual spring cleaning. What mindsets can stick around, but what mindsets need to go? What assumptions need to go? Like, the whole world is changing and evolving. So it's some things that we assume that are not really valid. And if we don't have a conversation or clarification, we're just literally assuming. You're assuming you know something that you don't know. And perhaps it's time to like grow up out of that. Or perhaps it's time to address some shit. It's like, nah, I ain't crazy. It just depends on how this is hitting you. Tell me what's going on. What decisions could be coming up? What crossroad decision are we making? I did pull the Two of Swords for this week. So there is a decision to make. Also, when we don't have the information in our conscious awareness, let's wait on spirit. Wait on the intuition. Like this, there is a collusion happening with the spirit world, with your guides, with God. Pray about it and watch the answer be revealed to you. Right. And then we have the full moon on May 1st, bringing some type of culmination. The sun is in Taurus. The moon is going to be in Scorpio, across the pond. And here is light being shed on an emotional situation. There could be something to do with finances, something to do with the body and how we've been taking care of ourselves. This could be some type of situation that we have been manipulating or triangulating, or are we in a triangulating situation? What has been we've been dealing with to stay attached to people and to feel safe in an emotional situation, in a relationship that has ran its course and that is no longer going to work for us, because we are needing to break away and liberate ourselves from these types of dynamics, these types of people, these circumstances. What's coming up? Who could be liberating themselves from us? What do we think that this full moon is showing us about ourselves, how we tend to attach to people, how we find our own emotional safety and security? Do we become clingy? Do we become manipulative? Do we try to get somebody before they get us? And that's really telling us something so that we could purge and transform that, because there's something that is on the other side of this waiting for us. But if we keep blocking ourselves out of fear of being vulnerable, fear of trusting, thinking everybody's out to get us, or trying to get people before, they get them, emotional immaturity, not being tapped into our own emotions, we can't really access this thing. You can't really go and find new love if you don't know how to trust yourself. If you don't know how to love yourself, nobody ain't coming to save you. Nobody completes you. You complete the circle and then people come in where it's safe. So this is a time where something is being revealed for you to change, transform, to fix, or to release. There's some things, attachments, behaviors, coping mechanisms that just no longer work, and they're keeping you disconnected from all the things you say you want. How do you need to find your own footing and your own sense of internal security? It don't come from a job. It don't come from a relationship. It doesn't come from controlling other people. It comes from you tapping into your own wellness, to your own sense of security. When you start trusting yourself, you begin to trust other people. You don't got to look 2 steps ahead and 2 steps back to make sure nobody's trying to get the drop on you, because can't nobody get the drop on you. Like, you got your own back, right? So it needs to be cleared out in the emotional landscape. And wherever this is for you in your life, wherever Scorpio is, it will be speaking directly to that. So if you got Scorpio in the first house, this is you. This is your identity, how you present yourself to the world, the things you take on for other people, how you try to mask yourself and put on these facades and put yourself in these little cocoons that's keeping you away from real love, greatness, keeping you away from opportunities. If it's at home, this could have something to do with intimacy, how you connect. What things need to be purged, literally in the home. This could have something to do with plumbing issues. Is there something that you've been putting a band-aid on that's coming up? You don't want to disregard any water issues. You see any water stains, you see any water damage issues or hints, you really want to take care of that, because it's gonna probably escalate to a major problem. If this is in career, what type of paranoid things are happening at work? What type of sneaky power dynamics are showing up? This is in relationships. What type of power plays are no longer working? Whether you're the one giving them out or you're the one accepting them, You know, how can you get to a safe space in your own existence, in your own spiritual capacity, so that you can see the world as a safe space, or you could at least be around safe people and stop doing shit that's not good for you, that's like tearing up your body. It's another thing with the sun in Taurus that we'll be looking at. And then by May 2nd, Mercury's going to go into Taurus, and this is going to bring in some more grounding energy. This is going to be a more simpler way of thinking about something. So perhaps instead of trying to forge ahead, we'll think about what's the practical way to do this. Let me chew on this a bit. Let me not be so quick to buy this or invest in that or sign on to this. Let me think about it. Let me look at all of the stipulations right before I make a decision. And so that's gonna take a little of this pressure off, because we won't be so fast to jump out of our boats and into other people's boats, or to jump into things that are not good for us. We'll be able to ground out the energy and chew on something that's really good for our nervous systems, especially with all of this Gemini energy, this Aries energy that is putting a lot of fire and desire on our nervous systems and our brains. So, guys, that's all I have for this week. I do hope you come to some very healthy realizations. I hope you address whatever could be coming up. I hope you have some very mature conversations, because we too old to be fighting, and we too old to be assuming. Okay? Be kind to other people and understand that somebody might be going through something that had nothing to do with you. So watch your assumptions. Watch out for speaking too soon on something and jumping to conclusions, and address something head on. You know, address something directly, which I don't think will be a problem this week with this Scorpio full moon. So I love you. If you need me, reach out to me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast.